Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where it's about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Kung Fu Season 3, Episode 11. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, let's start on a more non-mystical side of things, kind of on the home front. Mei Ling is dealing with the fact is that, hey, Harmony Dumplings is now super popular, but the problem is, with that popularity, in business, it kind of has a downside to it, and that major downside is that, she has to hire more staff, has to get more tables and stuff, which is good, but it also comes at a compromise where it's like, right, her loyal customers that have been there for decades serving them, there's no room for them, and now it's this, the sad thing is, for so long, Mei Ling has had to make so many compromises when it came to this, deal with corporate, and Carrie and everything, so... Especially, I think, when she ended up talking to Ryan and Ryan was telling her about what Sebastian was up to. Sebastian has a goal and a dream of opening a food truck, having a business that's his own, doing his own thing, being able to be his own boss. But obviously a food truck is very expensive. But Ryan ends up helping him out because Mei Ling brings up her and Jen's situation. It's like, right, your dad worked 2 jobs to help me make my dream come true. So she's like, and the fact is that Seb is someone that is as skilled and as good as he is, I know he can make this work out. And I think that combined with the fact is she feels like Harmony Dumplings, it's been her baby for so long. It's been something that's been a part of their family for so long. It was her dream, but looking at it now, she doesn't recognize it. And it's like, right, corporate has so much say over it. She's had to battle back with what they wanted versus what, and she's been able to kind of come to a compromise that works for both of them, but this was a step too far, and Carrie says, right, this wasn't what I signed up for. I didn't sign off on this. This was corporate. They got so excited. The fact of the matter is they want to build it more as a national brand. And to me, I immediately took that as they didn't say this necessarily, but I could definitely see this being turned into a franchise situation of yeah, they own this. And for Mei Ling, it's just the place that she put her heart and soul into, it's not there anymore. So she is selling her shares with the company to corporate, which, because, Carrie is right, if you want, you're going to have to be basically David going up against the Goliath in this situation, but if anyone can do it, I know you can. She stood up to them and gave them pushback every step of the way, so if this is what she wants, she'll but I guess she found her way around it, because it's you signed a contract and everything, and the only way getting out of it, it's there's no just getting Harmony Dumplings back. It's they had their share in it. There's no easy way. So she just has to finally let it go. It's right, that was a past, but for her, working with Seb will be a new challenge, a new adventure. It's building Harmony Dumpling all over again. It's and I think that speaks volumes to be able to do that at this point in your life when you've built something like this. And even, Ryan says it later on, it's not like their mom's leaving empty-handed. She's walking away with a good chunk of change to kind of, I think, help jumpstart the business with Seb. But I think it's nice too, because I think in the long run, it's there was always going to be, she was never going to be able to work together with Seb when it came to Harmony Dumplings because of everything, but now she can. Once again, I'm still so suspicious of Carrie and stuff, because I'm oh, cool, you kind of got Mei Ling out of the way now. Harmony Dumplings is going to probably still be, well, she says she thought she'd be sad about it, but she feels not necessarily relieved, but it's kind of I'm ready for that next chapter in my life, And just that conversation about everyone. Who was it? Because I know, I'm blanking on it. I believe Bonnie Somerville has a podcast about second acts, if I remember correctly. So it's kind of that same thing of you're never kind of too old for that next chapter, that next challenge in your life. Everyone's, waiting for that second act in life. So I think this is kind of Mei Ling. So once again, maybe further distance from it will kind of complicate things, seeing what Harmony Dumplings becomes from afar. But, this is what she wants to do. And obviously she's got her family support. She's got Jen's support. By her. Once again, it's I love that loving relationship that they have, how they have supported each other in each of their endeavors. Him always supporting her with Harmony Dumplings, her supporting him with the campaign and everything, which we'll get to in a second. But like I said, it's just, I don't know. still feel so suspicious about Carrie and this whole corporate situation. Once again, I don't know it has anything to do with Delta. Probably doesn't, but like for so long I was just so, it's just, I don't know, like it's just, I mean, I guess it makes sense because it's mainly it's a storyline tied to Mei Li and Jin, mainly Mei Li and Sebastian, but it's still a thing of like it's such a plot point that I feel like there's going to be more to it, but we'll see. So there's that side of things. There's also the situation with Jin, because obviously the polls aren't 100% going his way. And yes, there is the charges and everything, the investigation that's being held against Delta. But the problem is, like, no official charges are going to be, like, dropped until, like, next week. Which is, like, yes, that would help bump Jin up, but it's like until that becomes like officially announced, he's still kind of behind. So still doing the grassroots things, going door to door, working as hard as possible to make things happen. And then on the other side of things, Jin tried to give Anthony a warning about what was coming down the pipeline, because it's like, hey, you might want to distance yourself. We don't want you caught up in scandal, because he's like, there's a good chance you're going to win this, and I don't want your first term and, you know, and all of this to be tainted. I want good representation for us. If it's not going to be me, I want you to be able to stand tall, and because we deserve this, community deserves proper, you know, representation, and not having someone have basically a boot on their throat, essentially. So, but the problem is, Anthony dropped the bomb on that, like, oh, distancing himself from Delta, saying like, oh yeah, working with the DA who's bringing up charges. It's like, the charges weren't officially filed, but it's kind of like, yeah, you're threatening the investigation, because by doing that, you, because he was trying to get ahead on things, because Jin specifically told him, wait until the charges were filed, but they're not going to be filed until next week. And it's like, you doing that jeopardizing the case, because it gives Delta an opportunity. Like, oh, which, to be fair, they're a big enough corporation and enough money behind them that it could easily be a situation of, they probably already knew down the pipeline that the charges were coming, so they might have already been prepared, but Anthony probably didn't make that any better. But it was a desperation move, because at the end of the day, Jin ended up being the one that was 2% in the head, because he flipped it, because it was supposed to be like, oh, Anthony was 2% in the head lead. It's like, no, Jin was, but Anthony put out his own. Yeah, it's because it's all about perception, because it's like, hey, if you make people believe you won, then it's like, yeah, no one's going to like really side by Jin's side, so it gives you more opportunity for more and more people to vote for you, because they're like, oh, you're already winning, and then maybe you were hoping that it will kind of take some steam out of Jin's sales. It also makes you perception-wise, like I said, better, so people might vote for you. So regardless, that all ends up happening. So now Jin won. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the aftermath looks like for that, especially when you tie in the whole, especially when you tie in everything with Delta, and seeing like if that plays a role in anything. And then also, finally, once again, not handling all the non-supernatural stuff firsthand, is the whole Althea thing, too, which she was kind of getting paranoid, which immediately when that was all going down, I was like, yeah, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you. Because she's thinking, like, is Delta after her? Dennis is like, my wife seems a little crazy right now, but it's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna stick by her. And it's like, man, that's the cool thing about this. Everyone in it related to this family. It's like, yeah, you stick together. It's like, craziness or not, I got your back, you know? And yeah, we searched everywhere. The moment he found like her pen or whatever, I was like, well, you're going to search that pen, right? But it's like, no, they found like on a typewriter, they found a camera. It's like, I knew it. I was right. But it wasn't Delta keeping an eye on her. It was the NSA who apparently want to hire her, because it's like, yeah, you caught in our intention because of the earthquake situation, but we've also seen everything that you've done, especially when it came to like going up against a Goliath like Delta. So yeah, we're willing to give you a job. Obviously, you've had to work in the gray, like obviously doing some very non-legal stuff, but you work with us, you can help deal with things domestically and internationally, you know, and not have to worry about some red tape. Like, you'd be able to do everything that you've been doing just legally. Also, that like internet restraint that's been on you, that's going to be on you for the year. Yeah, we could take care of that too. So give it some thought. It's like, oh, that's interesting. You know, and Althea's our superhero in her own right, so this could be an opportunity. But the sad thing is, this could also be a situation, and this might be the end result. And I don't know what the show's situation is like for a potential fourth season. I don't know if that news has already happened. I typically don't look into that until like at the end of the season, unless like I get a notification or something saying like, hey, this is happening. But part of me is like wondering like, could a future season be about the family being so divided? I mean, Mei Li's got everything with Seb working on a truck. Jin's got, the city, the council, the city to look after essentially. Then like, you have most likely Nikki, Henry, maybe even Gilon. We'll see how things play on that front, kind of defending the city, and then like Dennis going his own way, and well, especially because like Althea's currently obviously working the PI front, so if she took like the more NSA job, I mean Evan and Nadia handling the more PI front, like everyone would just be so scattered with their own things that could be a storyline in its own, where it's just like, right, it's all about coming together, and they've stayed a tight-knit unit for these past couple seasons, but like everyone being so spread so thin, like having so much going on at the time, that could be an interesting storyline element they could be setting up, especially with Althea with this NSA thing. But we'll have to wait and see how that all ultimately ends up turning out, whether she wants to leave behind Evan and this PI work. I mean, it is a big opportunity, and it allows her to kind of, she probably thinks maybe with the NSA side of things, she could potentially help out Nikki more, might be her thought process. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I am still also a little suspicious of that too. I'm like, the fact that you come out of nowhere, like, I don't know if that's, I don't know. I'm just, I'm in suspicious mode. I get in suspicion mode sometimes, just like when stuff pops up like that out of nowhere, but we'll have to wait and see how that turns out too, so. But kind of finally circling to the more mystical side of things, they found out about everything that Zhao was doing last episode, and I would talk, that was such an interesting thing when they ended up having nearby footage of what Zhao did last episode, and the thing that she found is like a scepter or something, like, right? I think is what Henry said. But when they saw her, they didn't see Pei Ling's face. They saw Zhao's face. I was like, I thought that was just for us as the audience. It's like just being like representative of like, oh, because I thought like maybe this scepter or whatever is going to help her get her face back. It's like, which also I didn't even think about at the time. It's very like Legion-esque. If you've seen Legion, the FX show, the Marvel FX show, it kind of has like some of that elements to it, but I'll kind of leave it at that without really going into it. But it's like, yeah, we find out that Zhao can change her face whenever she wants to. She can use Pei Ling's face when it's convenient, but she prefers walking around because she's had to like use Pei Ling's face for so long. She had to use it all of last season. Now she gets to have her own face back. I wonder, had the writers not decided that they want to make that a thing of like, oh, like maybe they were like, well, we know that she used it to kind of get to Nikki, but I wonder, is it because they hadn't decided that that's fully, like, maybe they were like, oh, just her and Zhao and Pei Ling are just doppelgangers, or maybe it's just because it's like once it was always going to be a mind game, so that's why she specifically always just kept Pei Ling's face even last season. So maybe that was their way, kind of being like, oh, we want to distinguish the two of them, so they gave they have a different actress play Zhao. Maybe that's their way around that. I'm sure it also makes things maybe a little easier on the actress who plays Pei Ling, so she doesn't have to like balance the two different roles, and like she has been a little bit in the earlier parts of the season, so I mean, she still has to do it somewhat, but I'm sure it kind of alleviates some of that a little bit, having Zhao have a completely different face, a different actress playing her. So either way, I love the whole Jilon being part of the team thing, just like for obviously like Dennis was fixing her like a good couple. He's like, please let it be good and please don't kill me, and she's like, it was perfect, so you get to live. He's like, yes. It's like, oh, like who would have guessed we'd be here with Jilon? That's what I love. And then later on, Henry's trying to do his compass thing, and she's like, like, I don't know, turn on some music or something. He's like, can you please just like go over there and just not, I feel you just sitting over there staring. She's like, are you having performance anxiety? Really? He's like, can you just go? She's like, fine. I'm like, I love this like banter. It's like, once again, we get to see a more fun side of Jilon, because she was full of rage and revenge, so we didn't really get to see those fun sides of her. as much. Obviously, Crowin got a little bit of that, to some extent, beneath all the like anger and vengeance. He got peeks into that a little bit, but we are getting even more of it this season, and I like seeing that lighter side of her. It's like, yeah, this is who Jilan would be if she wasn't, this if her issues with her sister hadn't like consumed her the way they had. And just, and need for revenge. It's more so like her issues with her sister, but it was mainly obviously her need for revenge against Russell Tan that kind of fueled that. So this is probably the Jilan we would have gotten to know, probably the one that Pei Ling probably remembers back when they were younger. Either way. What I thought was interesting too, though, is like Zhao has gotten to the point that when Henry was tracking her, he was able to finally like look at her. Zhao saw him and like was able to stare back. Nikki ends up going to see Bo, much to her reluctance, because, hey, you might know something about what Zhao's up to. And they finally talk after everything, which Bo doesn't blame her. It's like, right, I deserved worse for what I did. Like, I worked with Zhao and I would have done anything for her because she was my Shifu, which Nikki understands is like everything she's doing right now is for her Shifu. It's like when you believe in someone so wholeheartedly, especially with what Zhao made Bo feel like she was his everything. She was his everything. His family, his Shifu, the only person who knew everything about him. So she made him feel important, like he was like a son to her. And the same thing for, I mean, obviously Nikki and Pei Ling are actually distant family, but it's like, especially all that Pei Ling has done for Nikki, like not only put her on a new path, everything that Pei Ling helped her do eventually led to her where she is right now, made her in a better position with the family. So it's like, yeah, she owes Pei Ling so much, so it's like, it's a situation she understands. And it's like, right, despite you hurting me, you doing what you did, like you did not deserve me doing what I did to you. Even returned his totem to him. But he ends up explaining that Zhao's plan is to he doesn't know fully what she's planning, but apparently like what she was going to do was clean the bloodline. And you're like, because what she created the warrior and guardian bloodline, but it's become so tainted. So you're like, oh, their immediate thought was, well, we know what is considered an abomination in Zhao's eyes of her own creation is the hybrid. So it's like, oh, she's going after Mia. So they make it to the monastery, which obviously it's like Jilan's not welcome there. She hasn't stepped foot back there since she killed her sister. So it's like understandable. Also, it's probably like, I'm assuming they heard rumors about her being dead, but it's like, or maybe Mia didn't tell her that, which is like, hey, Mia's like, wait, Jilan, you're alive, which is, it's nice because despite the complicated start of what brought them together, Jilan does care about Mia, and even Mia's like, right, it's not only just Nikki that helped me. Your sacrifice is why I'm able to be here right now. You saved both me and Nikki's life by sacrificing yourself, so I owe you a thanks for that. So, but yeah, Mia wasn't going to run now that she's like, found her place here. She's grown stronger in the 6 months she's been here. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to run away. So if Zhao's coming after me, we'll fight. And even Jilan's like, well, she's strong as she is, because their thought process is like, right, Zhao's got to be afraid of her because she is quite literally the strongest being, considering like both of her bloodlines being a hybrid makes her the strongest. And so they're ready to kind of take care of Zhao here and now, especially if it means saving Pei Ling. But the problem is Zhao apparently... the energy she released out there. I'm surprised. I don't know if they never really answered that, did they? I thought that was kind of interesting that they brought that up, that yes, at the end of season 1, when Nikki returned Bienga to the Earth, those flowers sprouted everywhere, but apparently they all kind of eventually returned to the Earth. It's like, okay, it's like the Earth was compensating for like this super abundance of energy, but now it all kind of mellowed out. But it seems like here at the monastery, I guess because of like, maybe it's on a ley line or whatever, it ended up really staying here. So Zhao came here and I guess absorbed that energy. And so I wonder, like, is she trying to, like, correct the bloodline, or is she just going to try and start making a third bloodline, like, what her end goal actually is? But obviously because of the sigils they put up, she could travel, but she couldn't actually travel outside of the monastery. She was locked in there, so it's like, yeah, that's like I said, I brought that up last episode. I was like, Yeah, I know they can use that, but I was like, I couldn't remember if, I mean, obviously you need your totem and stuff like that to be able to like teleport away and stuff like that. But I was trying to remember off the top of my head. I was like, yeah, they could always do a regular teleport, but teleporting to between dimensions is even harder. So either way, this isn't just about Mia. This is about something much more. Once again, I don't know if this is world domination or not, but I love Nikki kind of like pissing Zhao off because it's like you're kind of 0 for 3. The fact of the matter is Mia's more powerful than you could ever be. I beat you in your own home turf last season. Oh, and the Emperor's the one that locked you away. Oh, and no, it's like Pei Ling locked you away in her own mind. Like you're kind of 0 for 3. Like you might be as powerful as you think you are, but like a regular person like Pei Ling, she's as skilled as she is, but to be fair, she's part of the Guardian bloodline, so it makes sense. But it's like, yeah, Pei Ling was able to like hold you and lock you inside of her mind for so long, and the fact is she's still in there fighting. There is still that spark of her in you. So, but she managed to get away. I was kind of scared the moment like Mia took the hit, because I thought like with the plan was going to have Mia like use her powers and like crush the totem so that it limited what Zhao could do. That might be the end result. Like they probably will have to like destroy her totem in the end to kind of, because at the very least she will be super reluctant to use her power. It might get to the point that she gets so powerful she might not even need the totem anymore. But when it's all said and done, like my fear was like right that she was going to end up like hurting Mia, and I was like, oh, are you going to end up absorbing Mia's power? Because when it's all said and done, Mia does have a mark on her arm. So now the question then becomes like, why? What does that mean? Does that mean she's going to be constantly draining Mia's life force or like her energy until Mia's just a regular skilled warrior, but she doesn't have the like power of, maybe she's kind of the focal, because she's like, right, this isn't about Mia, it's so much bigger, but maybe Mia is still the focal point to all of this. We'll ultimately have to wait to see on that front, but still not clear about what Zhao has planned fully. And then there's also the element of at the end of the episode, she ended up grabbing Henry, because it's like, right, recognizing what he has as the compass, she could use that, because I guess it'd make tracking down some of like the more mystical ley lines and energies that she's trying to absorb. Like maybe it's going to make that a lot easier if she has Henry's abilities. But I don't know. I mean, she's probably going to try and take that, but I'm sure they're going to need both help in the end trying to track Henry down because of it. It's like he's the only traveler they have on their side, so this is a thing where like everyone's going to have to come together for this. They are seeming like they are setting up the Henry and Nikki thing again because of because Henry told Nikki like, right, the only reason why I was able to kind of use the powers like that, like track you down and stuff beforehand was because of my feelings for you. And that obviously got her thinking about, because later on you see her staring at Henry while I was doing research, and you see like Jalon kind of like side-eyeing that, being like kind of catching a glimpse of that without saying anything. So the end of this episode kind of pushes that even more. It's like, yeah, so when I get back, maybe we should, kind of talk. And it's like, because he was like, oh, it sounds like I'm the first person you call. She's like, yeah, you are. So kind of nice to see that they're kind of building that back up. So, but obviously, once again, Henry getting taken by Zhao. We'll have to wait to see where all this ends up taking us. We only got like 2 episodes left this season, right? I think that's also kind of threw me for a loop, because obviously the show went on a break for so long. So, but it's still obviously the show. I'm glad to have it back, but it just feels like, oh yeah, like there was not that many episodes left because the show went on break like episode 7 or 8. So it's like, yeah, there was only ever going to be like a couple episodes left. So it should only be 12 and 13 left. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.